Now this happened last night and I'm still freaking out about it. I really wish I had called the cops. I might actually still make a report later today. So for reference, I'm a tall 26-year-old female, and I have two beautiful daughters, 3 and 5 years old. We live in New Mexico in a small town about an hour and a half away from the city. With that being said, on to the story. My sister came from out of town to visit, so we all met up at my mom's house to go hang out. Of course, not seeing my sister for a while naturally led us to hanging out late. We ended up leaving around 9:30 p.m. On the way home, I decided that we should stop at Wal-Mart and grab a few things we need, since we're in town and live so far away from any stores. First though, my daughters and I stopped for gas because I really hate getting gas any later than 7, because, well, all the weirdos are around, and obviously it was well past 7 at this point. My daughters and I were having a blast in the car, just singing and making fun of each other on our way to the gas station. My girls were super excited to go to the gas station because the one we stopped at is really huge, and it has this big aisle full of toys that my girls were already asking to look at. Anyways, as we park, I get out to put my mask on, and I notice out of the corner of my eye, 2 guys in a bluish silver Honda staring in my direction. One of them was pointing at me through his windshield, which wasn't tinted, so I could easily see into his car. His car is parked at the pump directly behind my car, and I'm parked right in front of the gas station's door. I didn't get really nervous right away because I grew up in this town and I used to hang out with a really bad crowd as a teen. So in return, I know some sketchy people, unfortunately. So I thought maybe they just recognized me. That is, until they got out of the car. I turned to look at them, and I know I'd never seen them before. So I just made a note of it, and then went back to getting my daughters out of the car. When I got my girls out of the car, I had turned to my left side towards the gas station door, and I noticed the more thug-looking guy was just standing there with his arm under his shirt, to where I pretty much couldn't see his hand. I noticed something reflecting light near his waistband. I knew it didn't look like a gun, but instead looked like a handle to a really large hunting knife. I was immediately put off by this, and I felt my body heat up and a wave of anxiety wash over me. Every bad thought just started racing through my head. Like I said before, I used to hang out with a really bad crowd, and I've really been through and seen some things that I wish I didn't. But because of that, I'm a paranoid person and tend to be hyper aware of my surroundings. Don't get me wrong though, just because I'm petite doesn't mean I'm not strong. I can certainly pack a punch, trust me. Anyway, I grab my daughter's hands tightly and start ushering them inside. The guy then says, "Whoa, let me get that door for you." I smile and just say thank you, confidently not breaking eye contact with him. I don't know why, but I always tend to read people by their body language and eyes instead of the words coming out of their mouth, and this guy's body language felt aggressive. I had that feeling of dread completely wash over me. I got my daughters inside, and to my relief, there was kind of a lot of people inside, so I was able to relax a bit. My daughters went straight to the toys, and I followed, allowing them to look at them for a minute. We then got our snacks, paid for gas, and went outside to move my car to the pump. As I parked and started putting the fuel in my car, I opened the back doors and buckled up my daughters. As I'm leaning over, I had looked out my front window, and I noticed the guys coming out in a hurry. For some reason, my fight or flight kicked in, and I shut the door. I took the pump out of my car and put it back in, even though I still had $3 left, but I didn't care. I walked around my car to get into the driver's seat, and as I shut the door, I then glanced over and noticed the driver of the other car turned all the way around staring at me. Right then and there, I knew I was in trouble. My hands started shaking. I buckled up and peeled out of there. I didn't even care if I got pulled over by a cop. In fact, I was kinda hoping I would because that would probably be a good thing. I looked in my rearview mirror when we stopped at a red light, and I had then seen the car coming up behind me. The light was red, but there were no cars coming from either side, so I decided to just run the light, and what do you know? The car followed. I'm now internally freaking the fuck out now. My oldest daughter starts picking up on this and asks if I'm okay. What's wrong? I tell her nothing and that I'm just really tired and want to go home, so I think we'll just go to the store tomorrow. She then says okay. All I can think about is getting out of town and onto the road that is practically a straight road for half an hour. If I can get on that road, I can lose these guys, because luckily for me, I have a 2014 Impala that was a cop car. So it has no governor and actually has a performance mode, which I can turn on when I hit the traction control button. I glance back and I see this car is so close to me and I'm scared they're gonna hit me. I see something waving out of their window and I realize it's the guy holding his knife and he's trying to get me to pull over. No, fuck that. What, do they think I'm that stupid? The guy starts swerving back and forth trying to scare me. And I'm just praying I make it, because once I make this last turn onto the straight road, I then lose cell phone service too. I actually remembered a story on Southern Cannibal's channel about a girl being followed and how she tricked the person following her because they didn't know all the roads and the turns on them. I'm hoping I lose them before we get into the actual mountain where there are sharp turns, but if not, I now have a plan. We finally get to the straight part of the road and the car's trying to come up to the side of my car. So I wait till he gets close and I hit the button. My car then picks up speed and really fast. I don't lose them though. They were still following me and we're about 20 minutes out of town. And I know the turns are coming up quick and you have to slow down because there's no way you can take them that fast. Plus, there's usually always elk and deer on the road at this time. I begin to start crying from all the fear and stress because my baby girls are in the back seat. My youngest keeps telling me to slow down and that she's scared, and my oldest keeps asking me what's wrong and what's going on. And I'm just trying to tell them that we're okay, that we just need to get away from the bad car that's behind us. Sure enough, we start rounding the corners, and what do I see? A fucking elk in the road. I know this was a dumb decision, but I didn't see any other choice at this point. The elk was in the other lane walking across away from my lane, so I decided not to slow down and just pray and hope the elk doesn't come towards me. We fly right past it and the elk doesn't move. I keep glancing back and I finally see the car coming and they make it past the elk as well. I scream fuck and just keep going. There's a town coming up and it has one of the sharpest turns that I've ever taken. You have to slow down to 10 miles per hour to take it. I'm now clinging onto the hope that they don't know this area or about this turn, so as I start approaching it, I let go of the gas, slowing down to 30 miles per hour without touching my brakes so they don't see me brake and know to slow down for the turn. I made it through the turn, but I could feel my car wanting to go up on two wheels, but I also knew that this wasn't enough speed on this turn to actually even flip my car. I start hauling ass out of there and I can hear screeching tires, so I know it worked. They took it too fast, which gave me enough time to lose them. I come up on the second little town. I turn down a road and turn right onto a dirt road and shut my lights and car off. I managed to find my phone and thank God, I have 2 bars on it, enough to call my kid's dad and tell him what's going on. He says he's on his way, and at the same time I'm on the phone, I see the car pass. I tell my kid's dad this so he knows they're headed straight towards him. I'm sitting there trying to calm down my kids, but it's not working because I'm crying and shaking so bad that I can't even keep my hands on the wheel or hold my keys. It felt like hours, but the car never passed back by us. I'm still so nervous and just waiting for my kid's dad to show up. He finally shows up and he tells me to calm down and just follow him closely home, which is still 7 miles away. I'm following him, but we never see the car again. We made it home safely, so we put our kids to bed, and I explained everything that happened to my kid's dad. He decided to stay the night with us, so we felt safe. I haven't gotten any sleep yet because I'm just still so shaken up from the whole thing. I can't stop thinking what would have happened if they caught us or found out where I lived. What would they have done to my daughters and I? How would I have escaped with my kids? I really don't think I'll be leaving the house for a while. I'm glad we're safe and alive. But to those crazy 2 thugs who followed us, I really wish you would have wrecked and hit that elk. Fuck you. Let's never meet again. I'm just still so shaken up, and my brain is foggy from the lack of sleep and adrenaline. Everyone stay safe out there. People are crazy, and you just never know who's going to target you, and for what reason. Pay attention to your surroundings, and always trust your gut. If you happen to have children like me, do whatever is necessary to protect them. Hug them as often as you can, and always remind them how much you love them. Please, just stay safe out there. Hey everyone, sorry for the brief interruption on the stories, but I wanted to thank today's sponsor Manscaped for sponsoring today's video. Who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world? Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code Cannibal at manscaped.com. Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed and optimized trimmer that really makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. And did I mention wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help your battery length last longer. Guys, if you've been shaving with the same nut trimmer on your face, well, you've been doing it wrong. I mean, come on. Nobody wants to end up with pubes in their mouth. It's time to get your own ball hair and body trimmer with Manscaped to make me time the best time and enhance your confidence with some nice, smooth, well, you know the rest. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Cannibal at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code Cannibal. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Now, this happened back in June 2020. For some context, I'm a guy. I live in a small town in the south. I was staying at my aunt's house for the weekend. On that Saturday, my female cousin had asked me if I wanted to go to Wal-Mart with her. I said okay, and we went. We had to get some groceries and other items as well. After about 15 minutes of shopping, my cousin then said, "I think someone's following us." I turned around and saw a man who looked like he was in his early 30s. I saw that he also had his phone out as well. At the time, I didn't know if he was taking her picture or just online. The phone was pointed slightly at my cousin. I swear, I kept hearing a clicking noise that a camera makes coming from behind us. I turned around and I saw the guy from earlier. I asked him why he was taking pictures of my cousin, but he just ignored me. I then asked my cousin when we would be leaving. We only have a few more items left on the list," she said. We got the last few items and then went to the self-checkout. When my cousin put her card in the machine, I randomly looked to my right and I saw the guy who was taking my cousin's picture just standing there. We then paid for the food and quickly left. Well, about 5 minutes later, I then see a gray minivan following us. I decided to look a little closer, and I saw the man from the Wal-Mart in the driver's seat. I told my cousin, and she then started speeding down random streets. Eventually, we lost him. I told my cousin to just go home. Luckily, he didn't find us again. It took me like 5 months to convince my cousin to go back to that Wal-Mart, and we did eventually go back, and we didn't see him. I forgot to mention that I was 13 years old and my cousin was 17 during this encounter. It was scary as hell, but we never did see the guy again. And thank God for that. My mom worked at Wal-Mart and she was being harassed by an employee. Guy was your typical Billy Badass. The guy actually offered to my mom to whoop my brother and I and kick us out, when he learned she was widowed and my brothers and I were struggling to find work. This probably would have been a really bad gamble on his end, since my older brother and I worked in the woods frequently and did lots of heavy moving for people. He would often make comments that really creeped my mom out. I told her to report his ass to her boss. One night my mom had let me borrow her truck and I dropped her off and went to go pick her up later. We were going to do a range day with my friends and teach a friend of mine's fiance gun safety and also how to shoot. I'm also a licensed concealed carrier. I rarely carry, other than hunting or going to the range. Anyways, I eventually pull up to pick up my mom and I see the dude she was talking about. He was just smoking and looking at us as he stood. My mom then handed me money and told me to grab a few things. I threw on my jacket to cover up my holster and then walked in. I noticed he immediately followed me around, also glaring at me and snarling. It was like as if he was about to fight me or something. Every section he was there, so I decided to move through a few others. I talked to a young female associate, just some bullshit to see his reaction. It looked like he was clenching something and staring. The associate felt uncomfortable as she kept looking at him. I moved and he then followed me until I cut off to the checkout. I got my few things and left, and as soon as I got back, my mom unlocked the door. Meanwhile, I was really burning up as my jacket of choice was my heavy Carhartt, so I was unzipping it, and my mom looked really worried as I then heard footsteps coming behind me. I turned to see him walking at me. He saw the holster and he stopped. Excuse me, can I help you? I inquired, kinda forgetting that I had my holster on still. He zips over to this rusty truck, gets in, and then waits. My mom is really scared. I see a cigarette lit up, and he's waiting. My mom immediately tells me, "Go to the passenger side." I sit down and pull my phone out. I'm ready to call the police. My mom then starts driving, and he immediately cuts us off and drives off down the road. As we drove by, we had saw his truck on the side of the highway. My mom immediately floored it and had me pump gas for her when we got to the station. I left my gun in the car for her as she locked the doors. Unbeknownst to my mom, I called the night manager and I told him all about the aggressive, threatening employee. He was shocked, and I made it clear that if I see that employee again or if I'm followed or harassed, I'm going to be suing the store and its management for allowing dangerous behavior in their store by employees. This was his final straw since Walmart managers let sexual harassment slide, but if it's employee and customer harassment, the employee is dropped. I got back in the pickup and my mom drove until we got home. The next morning, I had filed a follow-up complaint on this guy to the staff. They said that he was fired and banned from the property, and they also threatened legal charges as well. My mom came back and seemed happier. She informed me that her creep got fired. She still doesn't know that I was behind it, but it's probably better that way. My name is Serenity, and this all happened at night. I was with my friend who we'll call Jenny. We were walking around at a random Wal-Mart in a whole new town that we were visiting. We were giggling and completely joking around, but also paying attention to our surroundings. I'm a very anxious person, and when I turned around, at one point I saw this tall man walking behind us. I didn't think anything about it since we were all shopping, and I just figured he was doing the same. Then maybe about 10 minutes later, as we're getting different snacks, the guy was once again behind us. I was getting really worried, but Jenny wasn't. She told me I was being paranoid for no reason. So I brushed it off and we went back to looking around and laughing. We then went over looking at the arts and crafts section, and I turned around to look at Jenny, and that same guy was right there again, acting like he was looking at something. Jenny then looked at me and was like, "Let's go look at the toys real quick, and maybe look at the games too." Then on the way, she told me that I needed to go find someone and that she was going to look for someone else as well. I walked over to the electronics, and I think she walked over to the area with the bullets and camping stuff. I was talking to a Walmart employee about him, and she told me that she would find someone to tell him to leave. I didn't see him again until I was with Jenny again and we were checking out. We walked to our car with a card pusher guy. He was talking to us and making sure we're okay. We got in my car and Jenny locked the doors real quick. She started to cry a little and told me we should have left when I thought he was following us at first. I told her it was fine and that I think we're going to be okay now. So I started to pull out of the spot, check my surroundings, and saw absolutely nobody after that. We didn't realize it at first, but the car parked in front of us was his, and he was sitting there staring at us. I started to kind of freak out a little, then pulled out of the spot and booked it out of there. I ran 2 red lights trying to get away from him, and he did too. I tried to lose the guy at random turns, and it didn't really work. I then had Jenny Google Maps the nearest police station since we're at a whole new town, and she put it through my car. Once I found it, I pulled into the parking lot, and the guy kept going straight. I filed a police report, and I asked them if they could pull the tapes from the Walmart, but they said it would be a whole process, and so I just told them to forget it, and got back into my car. Once I got back into my car, we had entered our hotel information into the Google Maps, and I started heading there. I pulled into the parking lot, and I couldn't believe it. I actually saw the guy's car at our hotel. Jenny told me I was just being paranoid though, saying that he didn't know where we were staying at. I shook it off yet again, and I went inside. The guy was actually sitting in the lobby and then looked over at us. I was absolutely terrified when the guy started walking towards us while we were waiting for the elevator. The man tapped me on the shoulder and then said, "Excuse me, miss. I want to know why you went to the police station. I'm a super nice guy, and I just wanted to be friends with you guys." I then looked down at the guy's pants, and he had a handgun on one side and a knife on the other. I then remembered that in my purse, I had my self-defense keychain. I took it out of my purse, and I went to grab the really loud keychain thing, but the guy then grabbed it from me. So then I thought to scream, and I did. After I screamed, the security guard from the hotel came over to us. I told him what the guy was doing and how the guy had been stalking me and my friend, and he took the guy away. The cops were eventually called, and we ended up finding out that this man had actually been accused of stalking several women in that city. Needless to say, we packed up all our things and then checked out 3 days early, and we ended up just going home. I wish that I would have done things differently, but I was 19 at the time, and I was also really scared, as well as trying to stay calm the whole time. Regardless though, I'm just really glad the guy got caught when he did.